Well, guys, I'm glad to have us all here. First, let me say I appreciate all of you all. First and foremost, how organically it came together, the track itself, just off of a whim. It's crazy. And I was telling Mr. V the story about how this all came about. I was mixing a track for Sean, and I just happened to be playing this track in the background, and he was like, "Man, what is that?" And I sent it to him, and he was like, "Man, listen, hold on. I think I got somebody for this." And here comes Miss Fly, our Guyanese connection, So uh, I knew it then, when I heard it, I was just like, man, but she's got this list, this little thing. So let me ask her, and I wind up asking her one. Where you from? And she said, Guyana. I was like, aha, GT,
Ghana all the way.
right away. So, fast forward, somebody that I've looked up to for years. We met back in early 2004, 2005, and he was. I was a very young cat coming up in the game, and he was getting and making himself his name known, and it was Mr. V. And here comes
Oh,
along.
I thought you were talking about somebody else. I'm like,
Oh,
who?
man,
Who?
this guy, yeah,
I'm
Mr.
trying to
V,
figure out where the
What?
story was going.
and next thing I know, he's like, man, I really like this track.
Yeah, I
So
got the
for
promo.
me,
I got the
yeah,
promo.
for
I
me,
was like, yo,
he got
I love
oh,
this. This is so
yeah.
dope. Yeah.
And for me, it was kind of one of those aha moments because this was the guy that I looked up to. You know what I mean? He was good friends with a great friend of mine, Charisma, and he introduced us, and it was like, wow, it's like full circle. And then just hearing what he did with the track, along with what Sean and I put together regarding instrumentation and drums, and then Miss Fly's vocals, it was a win-win situation. But I think for me, and I think for all of us, Mr. V, I think our big question for you is like, what really drew you to the song? What made you want to remix it?
Well, from the original mix, it was Miss Fly. It was her vocals. Her vocals is what stood out. Obviously, the instrumentation too was dope. Like, it just screamed like a summer vibe, like spring going into summer, kind of like reminding me of like early Jill Scott vibe is what I got from it. Like, um, that school park. When you go to the school park first week of spring, almost hitting summer, and it's nice outside. You got rid of the coat, you got rid of the sweater, and you're right outside. You're about to, just jump into something. You hear an ice cream truck or whatever, and it's just ready to, like, summer's coming.
Yeah,
And that's the
yeah.
vibe that I got from it. And I liked the versions that were there. I just felt like it needed like kind of a just like beats that were just a bit more uplifting, kind of boogie. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Kind of
yeah.
boogie type of beat. So I always, when I heard it, I was like, man, I would love to do a version that just the drums stick out more and
Mhm,
just kind of give you that bounce that you need, that pick me up,
mhm,
like
mhm.
to just get things moving. And that's kind of what I felt about that record. That's why I was like, let me get a crack at this. I didn't want no money, no nothing. I just wanted to get a crack at
And
it.
then, and that was the thing. Like the guys don't even know that, and I'm glad he said
Mm-hmm.
it. Like V did not even charge us to do the remix, and it
Now it's
was
off the
off,
strength. It's just out
off
of
the
love. Yeah.
and it was just off the love of the track.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the combination of the laid back drums that I put down in Sean's method to instrumentation and progressions and how he lays down bass lines, I think that was a great marriage. I think for me though, I always and I never asked, and I guess this is a great opportunity. It was like, Sean, when you heard the track, like what was it that made you say like, yo, let me get on that. Send that to me. Like, what did
Well,
you hear?
I think when you sent it, it didn't have a bass line.
Right.
So, you was talking about adding a bass line to it, but I started hearing different elements. I'm like, wow. I'm like, just certain instruments. I felt like I needed to add a little bit more to it. Now I thought it was going to be an instrumental. I didn't think that we was going to add vocals to it.
Mhm.
We did something almost similar to it, which was that Frankie joint. So
Right.
it
Right.
felt like that, but this one had a little bit more soulful vibe to it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna play around with this. I'm gonna add a little bit more to it. And that's when we knew that we needed vocals for it.
Yeah.
Now we did mention MissFly,
We
and
did.
I think you mentioned Cherie.
Yep. Yep. We
I
did.
think so. And I think at the time I was like, well, Cherie, she's like real busy right now. If you want to get it done now, we might need to go to someone that can, deliver right away.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that you reached out to MissFly. And then when you told me, I'm like, what the fuck was you talking about? I didn't even remember, because we was doing, we was doing so much stuff and everything.
Yeah.
And when you sent me over, like a rough draft, I was like, holy shit. Send it back. Now I need to do a solo.
Right.
We had to do a solo to it.
Right.
That was it, man. It was just like just the vibe of it. Like Mr. V said, it was just everything about it just had so many different elements to it. Like playground.
Right.
And that was the one thing also with like my mix too, is to bring out the instrumentation. I kind of felt like the original mixes were good, but there was so much beauty from the strings to the to everything else that was going on, the Rhodes, everything, and just panning them left and right and really giving them life. I kind of felt like it needed that.
Yeah.
Along with MissFly's voice too. Like I kind of wanted to play around with how, she was using, her backgrounds and her ad libs. I kind of wanted to pan them out this way and pan them and have them play with each other. 1 minute is to the left and 1 minute is to the right. And then the main vocals to be a bit more centered and kind of stick out more and just give it just a little bit more harmonization, but still keep her raw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just the rawness of how the way she came out is just perfect. So.
Exactly.
And it's crazy because MissFly and I were having our weekly Guyanese catch up and pepper pot and everything else. So we were talking and she said something so interesting. She said, Mo, it was the way you had this jazz vibe to your drums, and that's my background. So I want MissFly to talk a little bit about that, like your jazz background and how this track intrigued you to want to get on it and bless us with your vocals.
I remember, so my memory's a little bit foggy, but I remember it being on Facebook, and I don't know if you were playing it and tagging it or just playing it, but I responded and I said, is this for me? And you said something like, I don't know. And I was like, hold on, let me just throw something quickly, come up with something. So I think I just sent the hook.
Yep.
And so we're like, okay, let's see.
Which hook? Which part? If you could read that part, or that was the chorus, correct?
That actually was added after because we didn't have.
We didn't have a B section. We didn't.
Exactly.
Wow.
And we struggled with that for a while.
We struggled, yes.
I would say struggled, just trying to find a B section just to like take it to the chorus. So
yeah. So it was wanna love you right.
Yeah.
All that I really had, and then just what I do is I'll start singing, but the words don't make really a lot of sense, but you get the melody, and then I go back and I write words to the melody I had, and then I remember sending it off, and the response was it's missing something. It's missing just a little something. And then I struggled for a bit to try and find that section. If you could read my mind. And then it came and I sent it back and it was like, okay, we're ready to go.
And that was the part right there. That part when if you could read my. When I heard that, I said, Sean, when I mix this, I really got to do something special with that one part. And Sean was like, yeah. Can you do that layer thing you do that brings the vocals out? And I said, okay, I'll do it. And let me see how she likes it. Because, when you're working with artists for the first time, it's like, as an engineer, I hear things different than most people. Like Mr. V and I hear things that most people wouldn't really understand, and it would drive us crazy. And we're like, no, we got to get that out of there. And the average person's like, dude, what are you hearing? Like, we're crazy like that. So we got to get that noise out of there. But when I got your vocals, it was more of man, this is all the meat I need. Let me see if I can add some potatoes and some carrots and some other things. And then when I started adding those the flavor to it, it turned into something else. And I remember sending the original back to Miss Fly, and she said, "Wow,
Mm.
this is amazing. What did you do?" And I said, "It's not totally finished yet, but tell me if you hear things that you need me to do." And I said the same thing to Sean, and he was just like, "Nah, man, this thing is crazy."
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
So
record has a potential of going on for years. Like you can get
yeah,
multiple remixers for this record. It's still not over. Like you can have, like I could totally see like Spen do a mix. I could see
Mhm.
Louis doing a mix. I could see Spinner doing a
mm,
mix. Like there's
Yeah.
just so many things you can do with this song. It's not even funny. Like it's
Uh,
just that it's just good. Like your vocals are just right in the pocket. It makes perfect sense. You know,
that's an
people can do
exclusive right
so
there.
many different interpretations to the song, and it'll still hit. You know.
indeed.
And that's a great segue, I think, V, a great segue because there was a comment made by one of our peers the other day regarding the remix of "Wanna Love You."
Mhm.
Um, and many people have heard it, many people have played it. Louis played it several times on his
Mhm.
show,
Mhm.
Mr. V's version. And Lars Barringworth, somebody I have watched myself over my years growing up in this industry and having our relationship that we have. He made a comment the other day that blew myself and Miss Fly's mind because I really never thought about it in that perspective. And I text Sean and I said, "Man, did you hear what he just said? I never listened to the track that way." And he said, and I quote, during the session of Deeper Shades of House, episode 712, he said, "Who else is getting Superman vibes from this track?" And
Mhm.
as we all know, Superman is one of those tracks where it's just one of those tracks. It just never gets old. Some people get tired of it. Some people are fed up with playing it. I get it, but it's just one of those tracks. And so now when I listen to it, I'm like, wait, I think I think he's right.
Mhm.
But I've never listened to it in that perspective, never ingested it that way. I mean, when you hear that, Sean V, Miss Fly, when you hear something like that about a track that whether collectively we produced or individually produced, how does that make you feel as an artist, as a producer? Like, how does that make you feel inside?
Well, first of all, it's funny because Miss Fly actually sent me a demo, and I said, "This remind me
I missed.
of
I don't know
Boosie."
what the joke is. I
And
must have
when I
came in
told
late
you,
or something, or what?
The joke, it's crazy because
I, I
I
said
had
that.
no intentions. I had
I
no
said,
intentions when I
I
did the
actually,
remix. Had
I
no
did
intentions of that.
I'm
initially.
not even surprised.
I was working with South African producers prior to Sean and I. I mean, this Sean was on Facebook, and I don't even know if I added him or he was just like in, when you go through the who's doing what. I'm not even sure how that came up.
I
But
think she was in
Sean,
my inbox. Nah, nah.
wait, I'm so rude.
She was in my inbox. Don't even go.
I worked my way through. I sent him a message and I said, "Hey, I love the track," because he did one of those video things where he was just playing a track. So I sent a message and I said, "I was wondering if you would be interested in doing a collaboration." Now, I feel very sheltered in terms of I hear people's music, but I don't always can't put a face to a name. So when somebody says, "Oh yeah, yeah, let's do something," I asked Sean, "Who is this?" And Sean's like, "Seriously? That person just asked you to do something?" So I'm not always aware of who's who. And I like that because then I go on purely your merit,
Of course.
who you are and in that moment
And
as
you
a
don't feel pressure either.
Right.
absolutely.
It's the
And
smart way to do it. Mhm.
I sent him something that I had worked on from South Africa. So it was like the whole Boosie vibe was I knew that I had a kind of kinship with her only because of the way that she also sings. It's very
Right.
jazzy and laid back, right? So that's how we started this
Yeah.
race.
Yeah,
So
and it's being received. I mean, tomorrow I'll be posting up some feedback that we've been getting regarding the track, and it's crazy because and it's kudos again to Mr. V, and I know sometimes he probably is like this cat. I remember him young, and it's like I think his is better than mine, and in his feedback, he thinks mine is better than his. So it's crazy because as producers, as we all are, most people get into this competitive thing, and it's always, who's better than this, comparing everyone. But in this era that we're living in right now, I find it better collaborating with people and learning from them and growing in the industry than being, as we call in business, silos, and you're on your own little island and no one else can touch you or talk to you. Or how do you all feel about the current state of where we are now with production, writing? Just overall the industry as we see it. How do you all feel about the future and the state of it right now? And we'll start with Mr. V.
I gotta start with MissFly because honestly, no, because like I tend to do it all. I DJ,
Yeah.
I produce, I write, I rap, I almost sing without auto tune. I'm horrible, but with auto tune, I can get busy. I could do it all, but MissFly is who I want to hear from because I'm pretty sure as a songwriter and a singer, it's probably more challenging than me. I wear different many hats. I think her perspective first is probably who we need
Yeah,
to hear from.
I agree.
put me on the spot. Thanks.
Yes, always.
That's okay. I got my answer ready. So for me as a vocalist, what tends to happen is once it leaves my possession, the vocals is all that I have. So once it leaves, whoever I'm working with, I have to have a trust that they're going to bring out the best in me, and also that in the dealings of the music business, that they're going to treat me fairly. And we've seen through history that not all vocalists have been included in the business part of it. So for me, I'd rather my circle small and work with guys and girls who really want to bring out the best music rather than work with a whole bunch of people and have my name plastered all over the place, but still not getting the respect that is deserved, right?
Right.
So like I said, I tend to send messages to Sean like, who's this guy? Do you know this guy?
Right.
This guy's your friend on your friends list, but do you know him? Have you worked with him? And I've come to you and talked to you about some things that have happened, and really it's that kind of thing, just making sure that the vocalist is seen just as important as the music, because I'll do whatever I have to do to promote a track, so we're partners on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but once it's out of my hands.
Yeah.
And I also feel in a bubble because I'm here in my luxurious studio, and I don't get to play the parties, so I don't get to see the reaction to things. I don't get to see the hype. I don't get to see people dancing to it.
Well, I could tell you one thing. I know it's got a lot of hype.
It's got a lot of hype.
Yeah, I've had people call me. Like I said, I've never had David Harness call me about. I mean, he's told me that I do good remixes, but he called me, and he was like, "Dude, I just heard this "Wanna Love You" record you remixed," and I was like, "What? Like, how'd you get it?" Like,
and that's why I was curious too. Like, how did he get it? Because I checked my list. I'm like, wait.
And he was like, "I fucking love this shit," and I was like, "Wow, okay, thanks." Like, wow, and that's huge because, like I said, he'll text me, or when we see each other at the party, he'll play it, whatever. But it was the first time he called me, and he was like, "Yo, this record is dope. It's a dope record." And I was like, "Wow."
And I think that speaks volume too, because I'm sitting here as a producer, label owner, whatever, and I'm looking at you, and you're speaking of how that's dope that David Harness is giving you big ups for your track. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting here, I'm being honest. And I'm like, wow, this V jumped on a track of ours. And I mean, I can speak for Sean too, because we and him both have spoke about it before. And he was like, yo, like, wow, V wants to do a remix. And we both, I was like, yeah. When I told him, he was like, get out of here. I was like, nah, dude, he really wants to do the remix. So he was like, well, let him do it.
And it's
So
funny because my reaction was, oh, okay.
But like
so
I said, it doesn't end with mine though. This vocal can go on for at least another year, 2 years from now. I mean, if you guys get the right remixers to really take it up a notch, like there's still, you can do a uplifted version to it. You could do a big room version to it. You could do a minimal kind of tech house version to it. It's just that damn good. The vocals are good.
That's
So,
cool. And I
so
like that you mentioned span.
hmm
That'd be cool because I can hear like more of a four to the floor type, remix for it.
yep,
So I mean that might even work. So that's good.
yeah.
You know, good.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
game.
got that room. It's got the room to grow. And I think
yeah,
with the
big
in
time.
the right hands and with the right people, I think it's something I think we've stumbled on something that has that may transcend into the years to come way after us. So that's great. And for me personally, I appreciate working with great minds and people of color and people of intellect and people of like minds. So from me to you all, from Pasqua Records, from Mr. Eclectic, from myself, Maurice, I just want to say I appreciate you all
I
for
appreciate
getting
you, man.
Yeah,
project.
Thank you, man. But really, thank Miss Fly. I mean, without Miss Fly,
Yeah,
really,
yeah, really,
you're the
and that's the point.
foundation of that
Yeah,
record. I mean, it's just music once
yeah,
without no vocals
that's
on
right.
it, but it's really your message and your vibe on it that really got us.
Final
yeah,
touch. You're another instrument.
yeah, for
It's
real.
really interesting because when I wrote the song, it was just about a feeling. And Maurice had said because you used it when you and your wife had gone somewhere,
Yep.
you used it on your feed, and you said to me that it was like every single word meant something to you, and that made me feel really. That made my heart swell.
Well,
So
Miss
Yeah.
Fly, just
So,
just to let you know, everything I've done has come from a feeling, from just dance to something with jazz. All my records I can sing all come from feelings. They all
yeah,
come from things that I've seen or I've heard or I'm in the mood or it's like a mood that comes out. Everything from put your drink down to everything I write to this day, it's all feelings.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
you're right on the right path.
Well,
We're
it's
Yeah.
nice to have
yeah.
people who will not just challenge but encourage, and also, if I do go on the wrong path a little bit, I like when people will say, bring it back this way, or I'm encouraged by that.
Right.
So, and vice versa, I like working with people who are not afraid to be encouraged as well. So,
Well, guys, I appreciate you all. I really do. Again, I can't thank you enough. Sean, Miss Fly, Mr. V. For me, it's an honor to work with you all, and to be quite honest with you, I can only see great things for all of us in the future, man. So,
Well, you guys keep
let's,
playing, Miss Fly, you keep singing.
yeah.
We should be good to go. Just make sure you wear your mask when you do it from now.
and I'm in my own space,
Right.
in my
All
own.
right. All right, guys. Well, blessings. Thank you.
best to
Appreciate your
each
time,
of
Peace.
you
man.
guys.
All right,
Love.
now. One.
All
Peace.
right, one. Peace.